Good afternoon and good morning. This is Sam Williams from Loyalty 360, welcoming you to our Loyalty 360 Loyalty Expo speaker preview series. In this series, we'll hear from the presenters who will join us at this year's Loyalty Expo in Orlando, Florida this May. Today, we have the pleasure of speaking with Dr. J.R. Slubowski, VP of Consulting and Research Center of Excellence Lead at Kobie. Thank you for joining us, J.R.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
First, can you give us a brief overview of your Loyalty University Brand Masterclass session and why this topic is important for brands today?
Yeah, sure. So whereas in previous years when we've conducted our Heart of Loyalty study, we've gone really broad and tried to research a whole bunch of topics that was really a broad panorama of topics that affect loyalty marketers. This year, after talking with a lot of our clients and reading the marketplace, we really dove into 5 key areas. And that's what we're going to be presenting this year at the conference. We're actually going to look at things like data sharing, what drives consumers to share their personal information. We're calling this our 3rd installment because we've been asking about that for a few years. But we got a lot more specific and a lot more granular this year about that particular topic. We also felt like AI was at an inflection point, both for loyalty marketers and for consumers alike. So we really wanted to understand the degree to which consumers are familiar with AI in loyalty programs and where their willingness sits in terms of their adoption of it. And so there's a bunch of factors that we analyzed, and we'll talk about those factors and how they impact someone's willingness to actually use AI. And then we'll pivot a little bit and talk about some of the more some elements that are a little more what you think of when you think of loyalty marketing and loyalty programs. We'll talk about referral and advocacy and the differences between that. We did a deep dive there. We've been hearing from our clients a lot about community-based strategies. So think like brand communities, et cetera, those kinds of strategies that are oriented toward driving a sense of belonging. So we'll talk a little bit about community-based strategies and then finally about recognition as a potential layer on top of your loyalty strategy to really optimize and drive engagement. So you'll hear about that. And in terms of who we surveyed, we went out to 8,000 consumers across 6 different countries. We added France, Germany, and Spain this year, in addition to the UK, US, and Canada. And we did that because we have a pretty substantial presence in India at this point. And we've also, within the last 6 months, stood up our EMEA office in Europe. So we really wanted to get that global perspective. We also know that our clients' customers are becoming more global, so are our clients. So it was important to get that perspective. And then just one more note, we actually also conducted a practitioner study this year as a companion study to our Heart of Loyalty study. So we asked loyalty marketers about the same topics we asked our consumers in an effort to look for where there's areas of alignment, but maybe more importantly, to look where there's areas of difference. So that'll be the whole set of topics I'm looking to discuss this year at the conference.
Great, thank you. Thank you for that overview. It sounds like the masterclass session is going to be full of great topics. So how are consumer expectations changing, and how should brands be thinking about responding?
That's a really good question. What we were able to read this year in our Heart of Loyalty study was even more so than before. I think consumers are expecting brands to truly know them. Now, this is not a new concept. We've heard this year after year after year. But I think what changed this year is consumers are starting to recognize that knowing them is more than my behavior. It's understanding my attitudes. It's understanding what I value, what makes me emotionally connected to that particular brand. And I think consumers are really also looking for transparency as something that's paramount in terms of importance in programs. It's no longer just a hygiene factor. It's literally part of your value proposition, the notion of transparency. Specifically, I think for loyalty marketers who are in the throes of running loyalty programs, I think consumers also are showing a really strong desire to engage in advocacy behavior, to engage in community-based strategies. They want the kind of recognition that some loyalty programs do, but not all do, candidly. And in fact, that's what the research shows us. There's a disconnect between what consumers are looking for when it comes to those different strategies and what loyalty marketers are actually delivering in market. So we really wanted to understand not only where consumers' expectations sat relative to all of those topics, but whether or not loyalty marketers are at meeting those expectations, exceeding those expectations, or not meeting them at all. So.
Great. What are a few key takeaways attendees can expect to learn by attending your session?
Few takeaways. So for starters, attendees will get a strong sense of what type of factors will dictate whether or not a customer will share their data with a loyalty program, share that personal zero-party data. And we saw some really surprising results there. So I'm not going to do a spoiler alert or anything, but that's definitely something that emerged that was interesting. We also saw some really interesting results around AI and whether a familiarity with AI will drive a willingness to use it. And what factors really influence it, because there's a couple really key factors that when you insert them into the equation, spike willingness to use AI through the roof. We'll also look at those critical differences between referral and advocacy, and how to use those differences to really optimize strategies within loyalty programs. And finally, we'll look at recognition and community as other ways to think about how to drive additional consumer engagement in programs, given where consumers' heads are at around those topics as well. So those are just some of the takeaways that folks will be able to grab.
Awesome, thank you. Listeners, be sure to visit our website to learn more about the Expo and register today so you don't miss expert-led sessions from today's top customer loyalty leaders. JR, thank you for taking time to speak with us today. We're looking forward to seeing your session live on Wednesday, May 13th at 9:15 a.m. Eastern at the Loyalty Expo in Orlando, Florida. Listeners, be sure to check out the Loyalty Expo website for full session details and register soon to help ensure your loyalty program remains as powerful and robust as possible. Registration details are below, or feel free to reach out to Carly or Mark with any registration questions.